Yeah, if he's got it, well.
Okay, tell it again.
Give him a cue. Okay.
Now where the hell are we?
Well, you were talking about joining the military, and your dad was in a blizzard, and we'd missed the part where he almost lost his fingers.
No, we don't have to go back
No,
to
we're not
that.
doing that. Okay.
No, but I was thinking this story about when, before you signed up for the military, when you were in the front seat.
Oh, and his friends, yeah, seeing the airplanes flying and in the back seat
The
with.
story you just told me, where you told me I'm not listening. Tell it again and I'll listen. Maybe.
I don't know where you are.
You were on a picnic, you were on a date, and Bill Shank was in the back seat with the one sister, and you were in the front seat with the other sister. Start with, we were on a date.
Okay. On December 7th, 1941, I was on a date going from Oakland across the Dumbarton Bridge to Half Moon Bay on the Pacific coast, and Bill Schmidt, my friend, was in the back seat with the other sister, and I interrupted on the radio and said that Pearl Harbor had been bombed. This was December 7th, 1941. And I stopped the car and I turned around and I said, Bill, here we go, because we both had to register for the draft. And then after that, I was in a drugstore having a milkshake with some other high school buddies who were already out of high school. And Ed Dunlap, another buddy, came walking in, and we said, hey, what are you doing? Because he'd joined the National Guard, and they activated him because they thought the Japanese were going to invade the Pacific coast, blah, blah, blah. And he says, no, he says, I've transferred over. I'm waiting to get called for pilot training. And I said, where'd you sign up for that? And he said, 444 Market Street, San Francisco. So the next day I didn't go to work. I drove across the Bay Bridge, went in, and I guess it was a sergeant. I didn't know a sergeant from a general. He said, what do you want? And I said, I want to find out about flying school. Go on over there. So I took a 2-hour multiple guess exam and then 2-hour physical and got sworn in as a private unassigned, awaiting call to be a cadet and go to flying school. Anyway, 2 or 3 months later, I was called to put on a train. We went all over to St. Louis and then straight down into Kelly Field at San Antonio. Why we made that route, I don't know to this day. But they were just building what we call Lackland Air Force Base now. It was the Gulf Coast Aviation Cadet Training Center. We learned to march around with an old Springfield rifle and calisthenics and all that business in the Army. And then we were sent off to flying school. And I was sent up here to Bonham, Texas, at Jones Field for primary flight training in PT-19s, which is a low-wing, tube open cockpit airplane where the student sat in the back and the instructor in the front. And after primary, if we got through that, we were sent to basic, which was a bigger single-engine airplane, over at Perrin Field at Sherman, Texas. And after that training, we went to advanced, either twin-engine or single-engine advanced. And I didn't want to be a bomber pilot, so I asked my instructor, says, get me sent to single-engine advanced. And he did, and I ended up for advanced training in Foster Field of Victoria, Texas, in AT-6s. And our instructor said, you already know how to fly. It's going to teach you how to retract the landing gear and control the propeller, constant speed propeller. Otherwise, it's the same thing. So most of our training was cross-country and night flying and aerobatics and instrument flying. And then we were commissioned second lieutenants and got our wings. and got our assignments done. I was sent to Dale Mabry Field in Tallahassee, Florida. It doesn't no longer exist now, but it was a RTU, replacement training unit, with P-47 fighters. There must have been a couple of hundred of us down there, and we never got to the flight line because bomber production was catching up, and we were sent off to transports, bombers, instructors. I ended up in B-24 four-engine bombers in Biggsfield, El Paso, Texas. I'd never been in a multi-engine tricycle gear airplane before. Anyway, took to that like everything else, and eventually after that training, we got a brand new airplane and took off for what's now called Travis Air Force Base, north of San Francisco. And there we were briefed in that for our flight to Hawaii, because we're on our way to the South Pacific. And we flew at night so the navigator could shoot the stars with a sextant for navigation. And it was a 14-hour flight to Hickam Field in Hawaii. And one day we were down there checking on our airplane, how they were doing, because they were taking the tail turned out, putting the nose with better protection. And asked the workers when the airplane was going to be finished. They said, well, you got to see the foreman, Igiagi Yamaguchi or something like that. And of course, there's so many Japanese Americans on Hawaii. It was strange because we were putting them in concentration camps in California, and yet here they were, American citizens, working there. But anyway, it was kind of strange. I went down to Pearl Harbor to visit and got on an aircraft carrier and stood in the middle of the deck looking at that thing from one end to the other.
Which
Figured I didn't want to fly off a carrier. That's why I didn't want to get in the Navy.
You know the name of the aircraft carrier?
Uh,
Did you know the name of the aircraft carrier?
no.
No.
And a sailor there asked us, what carrier are we off? I said, well, we're not in the Navy, we're in the Army Air Corps. And he says, yeah, but you must be off a ship or something. And he seemed sort of stupid, so we asked him what he did. He said he was an anti-aircraft gunner. So later on in the South Pacific, when the Navy would shoot at us, we'd know that he was one of the gunners. Couldn't recognize the B-24, which is an airplane with two great big vertical fins and 4 engines.
Okay, yeah.
It was not Japanese. Anyway, we ended up in Espiritu Santos in the New Hebrides in the 5th Bomb Group. They had 4 squadrons. They had 2 squadrons up at Guadalcanal running bombing missions, and after a while they'd come back for rest, and the other 2 squadrons go up. So anyway, we flew missions out of Guadalcanal, and we had fighter cover then, P-38 twin-engine fighters, and Pappy Boyington's Marine fighters, F-4Us, out of Bougainville. But then we moved up from Guadalcanal to Munda and run missions out of there, and from there we skipped Rabaul, the Northern Ireland, and staged out of the Admiralty Islands. And we got longer range missions then. They put more fuel tanks in, and we were overloaded. Actually, thank God we were at sea level. And we flew missions there to bomb Truck, T-R-U-K, the truck group, which was the Japanese Pearl Harbor. We couldn't have any fighter cover to protect us because we went too far, 10 hours round trip, and the fighters couldn't carry that much fuel. So we had to fight our way out every mission we ran up there. Anyway, the criteria was if you put in 50 missions there, they'd send you home, which was fine. Except we ran 50 missions with the same hazard, with the same fighter enemy attacks and everything, as they did out of England into Europe with B-24s and B-17s, but they put in 25 missions, and they got a Distinguished Flying Cross and went home. We put in twice as many missions, no DFC. I learned later that one pilot got a DFC because he got all shot up so bad and he was able to keep the airplane flying and got back and saved his crew at that. So he didn't get any medals for not getting shot up. But if you got all shot up, you got a medal or that. Just curiosity. Anyway, they figured I was jungle happy, I guess, and they sent me to Tonopah, Nevada. And that's halfway between Vegas and Reno, an old mining town. And Senator McNamara owned this useless land at 5,000 feet above sea level, sold it to the government. They put a runway in there and turned it into a B-24 base. We lived in tar paper shacks. And the higher altitudes you are, the thinner the air, so it's harder to get off the ground to get enough lift. But so was the politics. And I was there training B-24 crews when the war ended. And from then on, I ferried B-24s to the junkyards in Kingman, Arizona, where they chopped them all up. But I decided to stay in it, so I did. And I went to maintenance officer school at Chanute Field, Illinois, for 9 months, and equivalent of 2 years of college, and was assigned to Marchfield at Riverside, California, as a base flight maintenance officer. Best job I ever had in the service. Great bunch of men working for me. I had, I had 9 airplanes, 7 different kinds, 4-engine, twin-engine, and to support the units there, and I flew them all. So, but finally, Strategic Air Command moved in with a B-29 outfit, and they booted me out of the maintenance thing and maybe the safety officer. I was given an office upstairs in an old barracks, no air conditioning or anything. They took my secretary authorized away from me to give to somebody else. And after a couple of weeks of that nonsense, a B-29 was damaged on landing in Iceland. So I was sent over there to investigate it. Well, in those days, General LeMay ran the Strategic Air Command. And if a wing commander, one of his airplanes had an accident, the commander had to go himself up there and tell General LeMay how it happened and what he was doing so it didn't happen again. It was pretty rough. Well, I wrote up this report. Instead, my commander got a pat on the back. So that stuck me in that job. I couldn't get back to maintenance or flight test. And but they were changing over and sending crews, B-29 crews, to B-47 jet bomber school. And they were making them what we call four-headed monsters. Besides the pilot, their radar.
Give us a second, because we don't want the phone in this.
So far, so good.
Okay, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. When the war ended, World War II, we were interfering airplanes to the junkyards. But they decided, the government decided they were going to have victory bond tours to show the people what their bonds had bought during the war. So they had one each of every airplane type, fighter planes, transports, bombers, twin engine, 4-engine, everything. Anyway, I was assigned a B-24 to go through the Midwest with all these other guys. We even had a